Now we'll continue with another sphere of backtesting, optimization. Optimization is the process of finding out which combination of all of your EA parameters performs the best over the historical chart period you're testing. In other words, you can find out how well the optimal combination of settings would have performed over the past X number of months or years. The advantage of optimizing is that you can simulate trading over a long period of time in just minutes. The disadvantage is that it's simulated trading, and there's no way of knowing for sure whether your system will obtain the same, better, or worse results in live trading. However, even with this disadvantage, optimization is the only tool around right now that provides a way to assess strategies and systems over a broad spectrum of trading conditions. In any event, you can still get a pretty good idea of how your strategies or systems may perform in the future. Even though the MT4 strategy tester optimization allows you to rapidly test thousands of combinations of parameters over a wide range of market conditions, it shouldn't be used indiscriminately. If you try to optimize every EA parameter, you're most likely going to see some pretty good results. In fact, some outcomes may show you making 10 times your initial capital in less than a year, but with very little drawdown. But actually, you're seeing how much you could have made if you had traded with those exact settings from the date that your test started until the date ended. Worse, your system could be over-optimized or curve fit, which means that the unbelievable performance, well, it would only be limited to the historical period tested and has no relevance to real-time trading. Still, optimization is a useful tool when it's employed properly. So, when should you optimize your strategy or system? Well, the answer depends on why you're optimizing. So right now, we're going to look at some examples. If you're developing a strategy or system based on indicators, you could optimize the period settings for each indicator to give yourself an idea of the range of settings that work best. So let's assume that you've developed a simple system that generates buy and sell signals represented by the green and red diamonds on the chart. It involves a faster, simple moving average, or SMA, of the open, crossing a slower, smooth moving average, or SMMA, of the open. Your slowing moving average period is determined by a multiple of the faster moving average periods. The multiple's value is represented by the parameter you have named indic bars, and the faster moving value is represented by the parameter you called high bars. In your illustration, the value of the high bars is 7, so it is a 7-period SMA. Indic bars has a value of 3, which means that the period for the slower moving average is 3 times that of the SMA, or a 21-period SMMA. From the location of the signals in this illustration, you can suspect that you might have a profitable system. As a first step in the optimization process, you will need to perform an initial backtest. I'll walk you through the steps. Backtesting is done through your EA, so first select the one you want to test from the Expert Advisor drop-down box. Next, select the currency pair from the symbol box and the chart period from the period box. For the model, select Open Prices Only, since your signals are generated at the open of the bar. If you're optimizing an EA driven by tick data, you'll need to select every tick because your results will be highly unreliable otherwise. Check the Use Date option and select the starting and ending dates for your initial backtest. Also, make sure the optimization box is not checked at this point. Click on the Expert Property box to access your input parameters. Make sure the parameters are set. In this case, you're setting indic bars at 3 and high bars at 7. For a profit target, you've elected to use a multiplying factor of 1. Your EA uses that factor to determine your profit target. You've also chosen to set your initial stop factor to 0.2. Your EA uses that factor as a percentage of the profit target for the initial stop loss. Press the OK button to close the EA property box, and finally press Start to begin the backtest. The test should take less than a minute. When it's complete, select the Graph tab to bring up the equity curve. As you examine the curve, you're going to see that your system isn't as grand as you thought it was. While it did make a profit, its performance appears to be erratic. Open the Report tab to review the system's performance statistics. The report analyzes how well your system did in terms of total profit, total loss, profit factor, drawdown, and much more. As we interpret the results, we can see the test period was from May 1st, 2010 to November 30th, 2010. Over that 6-month period, the net profit was $333.53, an increase of about 1% per month, which is okay, but no barn burner. At 6.49%, the relative drawdown is reasonable, and the absolute drawdown is $37.42, which is within acceptable limits. Of the 55 total trades, 40 were profitable for a win ratio of 72.73%. The largest trade was 195.26, greatly outweighing the largest loss of 53.80. All this looks okay, but the profit factor is 1.47, which is a little on the low side. A value of 2 or above is acceptable. Also, the average winning trade was 26.19, only slightly more than half the average loss trade of 47.62. Given these inadequacies, along with the erratic equity curve, your moving average crossover strategy might need some further fine-tuning. You might wonder how changing the moving average parameters will influence your results. This is where optimization comes in. However, be careful not to over-optimize your parameters. Doing so will fit your parameters to the data in such a way that will produce excellent curve-fitted backtesting results, but absolutely terrible live forward-tested results. This is because while chart history may repeat itself in terms of the ups and downs in price flow, it doesn't repeat itself exactly in the same way. If it did, we'd have no trouble predicting the market's next move. But since that's not the case, you'll still want to exercise caution during the optimization part of your overall backtesting routine. Optimization is done through the EA, so to get started, first select the one that you want to test from the Expert Advisor drop-down box. Next, you're going to select the currency pair from the symbol box and the chart period from the period box. For the model, select Open Prices Only, unless you're optimizing the EA driven by tick data. In that case, you'll need to select every tick because your results will be highly unreliable otherwise. In our example scenario, the EA controls the open of the bar, so we'll only be using Open Prices Only model. Continuing on, check the Use Date option and select the starting and ending dates for your optimization. This time, check the optimization box. After you've initialized the optimizer, you'll need to access the parameters in the Expert Properties box so that you can set up your test conditions. To do so, first click on Expert Properties button to open your Expert Advisor's property box. Next, select the Testing tab and input your initial deposit and deposit currency. You should really try to keep this reasonable amount, probably the amount that you would actually be using in live trading. In the Positions box, select either long and short, long only, or short only. Since we're interested in overall performance and not isolating any particular strategy, we're going to select the long and short. Next, select Balanced as the optimized parameter, since we're looking at overall profitability. Make sure you check the Generic Algorithm box. This shortens the testing time significantly as the algorithm uses a representative sample of the entire universe of possibilities and will only return the most profitable results. Now that you've initialized the strategy tester for optimization, your next step is to set the parameters you want to optimize. So in our scenario, you want to discover for which periods of the faster and slower moving average are likely to produce better results than the current ones. To do so, first we're going to open the Input tab to access the EA's parameters. This is where you will enter the range of values to be optimized. In the Start column, input the lowest value for the parameter setting. In the Stop column, input the highest value for the parameter setting. The Step column is where you input the value that the optimizer will step through from the start to the stop. The optimizer should automatically check the variable boxes for the selected parameters, but always make sure that they're all checked. Repeat setting up the Start column, Stop column, Step column, and ensuring that the optimization box is checked for each parameter to be optimized. Now, in this scenario, the indic bar values tells us how many times to multiply the high bar's value by to get the moving average period for the slower moving average. To illustrate, the present indic bar value is 3 and the present high bar values is 7, meaning a 7-bar moving average. So therefore, the slower moving average period would be 3 times the period of the faster moving average, or 3 times 7, which is 21 bars. The lowest value for this setting would be 2. And since a value of 1 would make the faster and the slower moving averages equal, therefore it's not workable. So input 2 as a start value for indic bars. In our example, let's say you feel 6 times the fast SMA is about the maximum separation you want between the two averages. So you input that value into the Stop column. Since the range from the start value of 2 through the stop value of 6 is 5 steps, you decide to set the step value as 1. The high bar parameter represents the number of bars for the faster moving average. You decide that the lowest value should be 3 bars and input that into the Start column. For the stop value, you feel that 21 bars should be the maximum that you want to go with for the faster moving average, so enter that value. Finally, you want the optimizer to step through the range from 3 bars to 21 bars, one period at a time. So set the step value to 1. Congratulations! You're now ready for the optimizer to run through all the possible combinations of the indic bars and high bar parameters. Close the optimizer property box and press Start. Your results should be ready in about less than a minute. Once the optimization is complete, you're going to need to interpret the results, which is the topic of our next article in the series, Article 5. Now remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed or confused by any of the terms in the MT4 strategy tester reports, please refer to our appendix on the site for definitions to all these terms.